Hello, my name is Cindy Richard, and I am the director and co-founder of Suicide Prevention of York. September is Suicide Prevention Month. Through weekly podcasts, we will be discussing with professionals not only how we can help survivors of suicide, but the professionals that help the person through the mental health journey. In addition, how can we prevent suicide from happening in all York County communities? Our podcast series will include professionals in the fields of mental health, medical education, older adults, and first responders. In addition, we will provide 2 podcasts on programs we are offering to school districts throughout York County to help prevent suicide, Avidum and Hope Squad. And today we have 2 people that are with the Hope Squad team. Miranda King, who's a social worker at York Suburban School District and a Hope Squad advisor, and Dr. Sarah Rodenburgh at Suburban Middle School, and she's an SEL teacher. So welcome.
Thank you.
I appreciate you being here today. And you all are doing our pilot for Hope Squad, and you're the first school in York County to provide Hope Squad to your students, and we are thrilled. So just introduce yourself and tell us about how long you've been in the school district, what you do, and just give the community a little bit of knowledge about yourselves.
I can't even believe it, but this is my 20th year at York
goodness.
Suburban. I started off in the high school, was a high school social studies teacher, and then made a transition to administration, came back to the classroom, went to middle school administration, came back to the classroom. But I believe very much, similar to Hope Squad, that I'm right where I need to be for the population that needs me most. So this is starting, I think it's my 4th year at the middle school. So,
wow.
And third year of teaching our pilot SEL class, which we offer to all of our 6th, 7th, and 8th graders for their social emotional well-being.
Nice, nice. What does the SEL stand for?
Social emotional learning.
Okay, just for the people out there.
Yep, social emotional
That's
learning.
good.
Yeah,
Miranda.
so I'm almost the exact opposite. I'm a newbie at York Suburban. I'm going into my 4th year as school social worker, but I've been in the field of social work now 13 years, so lucky number 13. I do a little bit of everything when it comes to mental health, student needs, homelessness, foster care. And when you had approached me about Hope Squad, I was super, super excited for something new. One of the things that I like about it the most is that it's peer nominated, really peer led, and I think our district really needs something where kids have a really strong and powerful voice when it comes to suicide and mental health. When I came here, Sarah and I really connected to start a lot of the mental health movement, researching data collection to really show that our district really needed to rally around those students and provide some other supports for mental health. So I'm really excited for our next adventure with Hope Squad.
That's wonderful, and we're really excited that you all are doing it too. So give us a little bit, explain to us a little bit about Hope Squad and why, York Suburban School District has started the program, and a little bit about what you're doing.
Okay.
I'll start with the history piece. Seems appropriate as my social studies background.
Oh,
history
okay,
teacher.
there you go. Do the history, yeah.
So in researching, I'll say, about Hope Squad, it is born out of Provo, Utah, from a high school principal who saw a need because of rising suicide rates within his district over the course of his tenure as an administrator. So it's kind of home in schools. And again, the piece that was really appealing when Miranda came and said, would you want to be a part of this, was the whole idea that it is really the grassroots, student nominated. It's the kids who other kids are already going to and sharing their concerns with, but now it takes them to a level of being empowered and being educated in learning what to do when they're presented with those really difficult situations, while also involving the entire school community and being proactive rather than reactive to mental health and mental awareness needs within our school community.
Yeah, and what have we done? Well, when you approached me for the grant opportunity, I attribute it to a lot of the work that we've done, and I've really tried to get our name out there about the importance of mental health and student mental health. And I was like, absolutely, we'll figure it out, let's make it work. And since then, it's really been a giant steamroller that has just pushed us in the right direction. We have 5 advisors that have been trained. We have, including myself, 2 others at the high school, and then myself and 2 others at our middle school. So we're planning on rolling it out at the beginning of this school year in both of those buildings. We have all been trained, certified. We have our retreat actually on Saturday. So we have our squad identified. I think it's, I counted today, 18 students and from middle school and high school. So they'll have a day of team building, bonding. We're going to try to cover the first 2 phases on Saturday because we really feel like those are the kind of 2 important ones, really, to get them up and rolling. We have flex classrooms assigned for those students so that they can all be together at the end of the day. So when we have our meetings, we have scheduled, I think, our meetings out through the year. So we thought it was important for parents and students to know, really what their expectations are and, for when they need to be present, because a lot of these kiddos are stretched in many, many different directions.
Yeah,
but we really also wanted to give them the opportunity to be a part of something amazing. So we really try to cater to everyone's schedules. And then I think we're tentatively looking to have our Hope Week in February, and possibly some beginning year assemblies, videos to really congratulate those students that are on the squad and to make sure the student body knows who those students are. So we've really done a lot, I think, since May, April-ish.
It's just been a few months.
Yes.
That's it.
So
Yeah.
we're very, very eager. Like I said, admin buy-in has been really good. I wanted to make sure that we had an administrator in each building that was really in support of Hope Squad. And we also have our team is really diverse when it comes to our student body and our faculty, so that we really kind of hit everybody, somebody that everyone can relate to. So
How often are the advisors going to be meeting with the students?
As a whole group, because we're doing our middle school and high school together, even
Right.
that's how our meetings are going to be facilitated.
Oh, are they? Okay.
We're meeting once a month as that entire group.
Okay.
But then, as Miranda mentioned, because of our flex classrooms, I'll actually see my Hope Squad members, ideally, every single school day, because
Okay.
they'll actually end the day in a set classroom, if you will.
That's interesting concept, because and every school can make up their own meeting schedules according to their students and how the school districts run, how the school buildings are run. Because I think you not only have to have that curriculum time where you're teaching them the phases and they do get a lot of education and all this, but you're also having to check in with them on how they're doing, because especially being the first year, a lot of them don't really know, themselves especially, but how it is going to affect them, because it's not just a walk in the park sometimes,
Right.
For some of these kids. So that's really good, so that you're able to connect and see their mental health as being important and connect with them as quickly as possible. I really like that setup.
And it will
Yeah.
be the same at the high school. The flex teacher is also a certified advisor, so
Okay.
he will check in with the kids at the high school every day if they need it as well. And I think our philosophy of having the one monthly meeting is all of those core curriculum, those components. We want them to all be able to be there to support each other, ask questions, learn together, and then really kind of take what they're learning and then, make some certain things that might be specific to high school or specific to middle school. Designing posters. One of the meetings at the buildings might be just a self-care where we do yoga and mindfulness to really make sure that they're taking care of self when they're learning some pretty heavy stuff, and also potentially working with some students that are going through some things as well.
tell us about your members and how they came about.
It was actually kind of amazing given the craziness, of course, of the past year.
Yeah.
We actually went two totally different directions, high school, middle school, to assemble our squad. But I think it actually worked out well, despite the two methods that we had to do. High school took a much more kind of whole school, like kind of a little rally to here's what Hope Squad is, an introduction to the whole building to solicit their members. Whereas middle school, we didn't have that opportunity because of social distancing
Exactly.
and students only being in the building certain days of the week and things like that. So we actually incorporated at the middle school into our, Pennsylvania had a social emotional learning day, which we actually used as part of that day, surveying the students to figure out who the people are that they were going to talk to. So from a simple student survey at all the grade levels, that's how we were able to start advertising who the names that kept showing up on that survey were and offer them the opportunity to be Hope Squad members.
Yeah, because Hope Squad has a form that kids have to fill out, and they name 3
Right.
students, and that they would go and talk to if they needed to. They, it's like they know exactly who they would need to talk to. And then after that, it goes to the counselors, I understand, and then and the counselors then look at all the names, and the ones that really stand out eventually rise to the top. And then there's an interview process, and parents are involved.
Parent meeting.
So yeah, the parent meetings. So you all did all that, and so tell me how not who the members are, but the makeup of the members that you have for the middle school and high school.
I mean, it's incredibly diverse, from socioeconomic status, race, athletes, our kids in plays, musicals, the band, arts, male, female, sexuality, gender. We've hit, I think, every group.
Yeah.
And it was really important to us, especially as we were looking over the list of kids nominated. Certain kids tend to gravitate towards certain groups, and we know who those groups are, especially at the middle school when they're still trying to figure out who they are and where they fit in. And we really wanted to be selective on that. We kind of pull a kid from all of those groups so that, again, we're hitting the entire student body and not just a targeted population. And the way we kind of advertise it as the high school when we were looking for nominations is, the kind of kid that if they saw a kid sitting by themselves in the lunchroom, that they would go up and sit with them, or if they saw a kid sobbing in the hallway, that they would be comfortable to provide them support, ask if they were okay. It kind of happened pretty naturally, very authentically, and we were actually quite impressed with some students that we would not really have identified as being a support to others had we not allowed the peers the opportunity to nominate each other, which, again, I'll say it, and I'll look in the camera, that it's such an awesome part of this program because students are nominating students that they feel can help them.
And I have to say, I'll be the one to admit, I was totally skeptical because Hope Squad very much says, like, basically let the process happen. Like, it will naturally sort itself out. And I know we were like, yeah, right, like, it's not going to happen. But it so completely did, and so distinctively, that it was the same names who kept coming up as, this is a person who I can rely on. So it was really interesting to see how that process happened with little to any effort on our part. And again, the counselors were really there as a check to make sure, is Hope Squad a good fit, given a whole number of other factors and things that I may not be aware of for the student in that particular situation or opportunity. And I love that for the most part, it was not, in some cases it was the popular students, but it was also kids who have struggled with maybe some discipline issues or behavioral things, but really then giving them that opportunity of here's a leadership opportunity where you can, have such a positive impact in spite of maybe some other things that have happened. So,
We talk about a lot with all ages that in order for some people, most people, to feel comfortable and for some people to even to continue living, they have to know what their purpose is. And they have to have that impact. And so a lot of times we encourage people to go out and do volunteer work because that really, really does make a difference in their life, and that's what they're wanting. They're wanting to be important, and I don't say important in the sense that they're, it's all about them, but it's that feeling of having a purpose of getting up in the morning. And we see that in our students too. A lot of them struggle at school, but now they have a reason for being there that may even overshine and roll into their schoolwork. So that's wonderful. When I went out to Utah to go through the advisor training and stuff, we had a chance to go into the schools. And I heard it several times, and you just said it here, that there are kids that would never have been friends with these kids if it hadn't have been Hope Squad because they weren't their type, or whatever. So I heard it over and over again. And I heard one story that I will never, ever forget my entire life. And he would never have been friends with this kid because they didn't walk the same walk, basically, in school. But then they became best friends, and he ended up saving his life. At the end, and they're still friends, and they're going to the same. They went to, as far as I know, they went to the same college together because that's what they had planned on doing back then. This was before COVID, so it was really, really interesting, and it said a lot about Hope Squad. And I heard you say that too. That kids just.
Yeah, and we were not able to really do like the formal interviewing again because of COVID and the hybrid learning schedule and Zoom. So we were able to collectively get all the kids on Zoom. And I just wish I could have like been there in person and hugged them, because the emotional responses because we really asked them to be vulnerable and what does Hope Squad mean to you? What does this nomination mean? And it was just phenomenal to see how excited and honored they were to be part of such an amazing thing, knowing that they're going to be helping students that need just that person to be there, to be present. It was really, really powerful. And again, something that we were not expecting, to really get that kind of buy-in. So I'm very excited for Saturday to do the retreat and just really, all interact and be together and get this thing on the road. Yeah.
I had no idea this was going to work like this either. And after talking to you that one day, I was so hyped. I was like, this is really, really good. And you have to do surveys, pre and post surveys, and there is work behind the scenes for the advisors to do. When I say advisors to some schools, they're like, we can't add one more thing onto our teachers', agendas and our social workers and whatever. Has it been? I know you've had a good experience with it, and which was nice, but has it been too much? And you can be honest about it.
So I'll be honest. I think I got the buy-in from all the other four because I was like, I'll be the lead advisor. Like, I'll take care of all the logistics. Like, I just really need people to, be excited about it, energized. Like, we have the opportunity, since it's new, to really make it what we want, what works for our school district. And it took some bribing, some coaxing. But I'll be, very honest. When you start, I think, any new program, there's a ton of unknowns. I have a laundry list of things to do before Saturday to finish getting ready. And I feel like I've just, been flying by the seat of my pants because we don't really know. So up front, is it work? Absolutely. But when we get those little glimpses of like things moving in a great direction and things kind of falling together, it like is that energizing thing that I need to be able to like really keep putting energy and effort, especially now because social workers, teachers, administrators are pulled 7,000 directions and things change every other day. So when you add that extra kind of thing on top of it, there has been stressful times, but I think in any program when you're supporting mental health and suicide, there's going to be a level of stress because you are so passionate and it has to be done in a way that is meaningful. So,
I understand your feeling on this, but that sometimes that overwhelmingness can just be enough to keep you going, and it can be a feel-good feeling. Like, okay, I'm doing something in the right direction, and I want it to work, and these kids are important, and seeing that the kids are excited about it too is really nice, and to have the administration on your side says a lot. Hope Squad is a wonderful program. But what I love about it the most is you can design it for your school district. And because every school district is different, the diversity of the school district is different. And you can make it, and out in Utah, they have a large Indian population. So in some schools, they have to have some special things there for that population. In Lancaster, we'd have the Amish or whatever. Whatever way your school is made up, you have to bring it all in together, through this program. So it can be challenging at times, but it can also be rewarding.
And I think all of us advisors have been through something, have lost a loved one to suicide or direct experience with students. So I think having that support from your colleagues to be able to really confide in, rely on, and as we navigate this together, I think has been hugely beneficial as well.
Yes.
And I do think having a team of 5 also has really been great.
Well, you're not alone.
Correct. And you can kind of share that burden. And even with the planning of Saturday, it didn't fall on 1 or 2 people's shoulders. It was, okay, let's sit down as a group of 5 and really look at where our strengths are, who can do what. So it is kind of that divvying up all the work that needs to be done, which is definitely helpful.
And then once you get past your first one, then this group, if they move on to next year, they can help out with the second one, and and it can really.
And the majority of our students, we only have 1 senior, so
Okay.
the rest of them are predominantly 8th grade through 11th grade.
Okay.
A huge group of 8th graders that did transition to 9th grade, but also a lot of 7th graders that are now our middle school Hope Squad 8th graders. So the longevity, we have a lot of kids that could be in it kind of already in that 4-year sort of curriculum, which I think is really good. We got a lot of younger kids, younger students. So.
And that's good because, again, that's their choice. Every year they have to go through the same process, and some kids do the whole 4 years, some do 1. As they get older, their schedules change too.
Yep.
But Utah also has a national Hope Squad member program, and I got a chance to meet a couple of those students when I was out there in June, and it is tremendous. And so maybe one day, because they only take 3 and 4 year students. So I maybe one day we'll have somebody on the national team. But they speak so well, and they just are so passionate. You wouldn't even know they weren't advisors, that they were students. It's amazing. And they have Hope Squad for college. We also have Hope Squad for the veterans and the workforce. So hopefully maybe somewhere we can get something done with the college students, because we have 3 colleges here, so there you go. So we're going to hold you guys.
Yes, we are paving the way.
You are paving the way. So how can other school districts start this program? And this is a program, not a club, which is different from a VEDM that we've already talked about. But how can other school districts get involved?
I think one of the things that, and again, part of it is that most of us as advisors are already the type A personality. So we were all like, it has to be awesome from go. It has to be huge. We have to get as many students on board as possible. And then we kind of sat down and we're like, we need to get that grassroots momentum.
Yeah.
Even if we end up with 3 kids the first year, that's a place to start. And
Exactly.
if they're the awesome 3 kids and their education is great and they serve the purpose, that's a fantastic place to start. So I'd say one of my pieces of advice to other districts is you do not have to be gung-ho from day one. It's okay to start the process slowly. And again, when we started it, we obviously didn't have the most ideal conditions for getting things
Yeah.
up and running, and it still worked out anyway. So take small steps. It doesn't have to
Okay.
be ginormous steps, would be my initial piece of advice.
That's good advice.
Yeah, I think another piece of advice would be when I left the training, there was a part of me that was like, oh my gosh, like there's like 30 hoops I have to now jump through just to kick this off. And there's but it's really nicely broken down, and then everything kind of does flow into the next thing quite easily. So looking at it from, again, that fragmented pieces instead of like the whole thing at once is very daunting, very overwhelming. So breaking it down in a way that makes sense for your district, your building, I think was huge for us as well. And really taking the time to ensure the advisors that you choose are invested, because it really does take a strong team, especially when you're piloting it and planning it, for people that are going to keep coming to the table, offering creative ideas, and collaborating to really make it, what it needs to be.
And not taking no for an answer.
Correct.
Like figuring out a way to make it
We're
work,
gonna make it work.
even if the structure's not in place at the moment to make it work.
Right.
Come up with a new structure.
Very, very good advice. And, the Hope Squad team out in Utah, they're very supportive.
Yes.
And anytime you have an issue, you can just email, pick up the phone, whatever. They have a pretty good team there and have it pretty well laid out, and who to contact for different questions, because there's all different kinds of questions. One of the things that you said about the student number, when I spoke with an advisor when I was out there the first time, he started out with 50 members. And
I couldn't have done that.
yeah, and this was middle school. And the next year, he realized that 50 don't even fit in his classroom, because they would always have their meetings in his classroom that morning, that morning that they met. And so he said, I'm going to have as many as I do chairs. And so he brought it down to 25. It caused a few issues, because some kids wanted to be in it and they couldn't, because they had to go through the nomination process. But he let them all know ahead of time that he was going to do it, and he prepared them for it, just so that, because he was cutting it in half. He said, I literally was going crazy with 50, people. But he said, I also wanted them all to be comfortable when they came into my classroom and to sit there. And so he was thinking about them. And I thought that was a very nice way of doing it. And he said, I did not have to cut very many. He said there were a few that just said, my schedule is just too much, and I just can't handle it, or I'm having this family issue at home, I just really can't do it this year. He said there are some of them that were just kind about it. And he said it worked out really well. But he says that's something he learned from. He was a new advisor, a new teacher too at the school, and I thought that was very, very nice. So when you said start out with me, even as little as 3, there you go.
Yeah. I hope we get to a place where we have to, cut and give a limit, and that would be great. But again, that small stepping stones, baby steps to get to the bigger picture has been really helpful.
And I think you look at how many people you have in the school, divide it by so many per member, just thinking of a number, and go from there. I mean, 18 is nothing to sneeze at. I mean, that's a good size squad. So what are your next steps, other than getting through Saturday?
Yeah.
Well, I still have to order the swag. See,
Yeah.
again, forgive yourself, normalize it. There are things that will get slipped through the cracks or wait till the last minute.
I think something that we've tried really hard to do, especially knowing the kids who committed to this, is trying to do as much as we can within the confines of the school day. And if we have to go over the school day,
Yes.
being super receptive to the fact of, if we end our meetings at 4, they can still get to sports practice, or they can still get to marching band, or they can still get to drama. So trying as best as possible to be sensitive to the fact that there are already kids who tend to be in a lot of other things.
Yeah.
So just trying to do as much as we can.
That's
during
very
the school
smart.
day.
That's very smart, yeah.
And then I think next steps, when the students are all together Saturday, really planning what they want the, beginning of the school year to look like. How do they want to, announce Hope Squad and that they're the squad members. And then just kind of start our meetings, all connecting.
Planning Hope Week.
Planning Hope Week, and adding in that curriculum piece.
And when school starts, you'll have the kids on board to be helping you with all this too.
Right.
So let it flow.
And on the advisor side, we just have to, again, reintroduce to the staff now with some procedures in place. Reminder, here's what Hope Squad is.
Right.
Here's the people who are part of Hope Squad. There's a card system involved with the need of the students that they're interacting with, so guidance counselors are aware. So some of those,
So
again,
just
structural pieces.
Yeah, some structure to the program.
Yeah.
Yep.
That sounds excellent.
Yep.
What would you like to say to any parent or student listening to this podcast?
Go ahead.
I would just say something that, I mean, we've tried to say it a lot. Number one, that the program is out there. It exists. It's already widespread on the western part of the United States.
Yeah.
It's moving east, which is exciting. But secondly, if your son or daughter has an opportunity to be part of this program, just praising them, because it's obviously an indication of the type of student that they are within their school community, which is really something to be proud of as a parent.
As a parent, yeah.
I would say to them and continue to send the message that anytime there's a program with the word suicide or the word mental health, I think there's automatically a reservation or a stigma that's attached to it. And I would encourage them to really be open-minded and allow their student and child to really explore such an amazing mentoring opportunity, while also, and really that's what it is, that, where students are supporting other students. And I think some parents can learn from programs like this, if we would all support each other sometimes in a little bit of a better way. You never know what the world could look like. And that it's okay to talk about these sort of things. Because I know at our parent meeting, a lot of questions we got, well, what if my child internalizes this or takes this on, or if somebody does die by suicide? There's such a huge self-care component to all of this. And I think it's really important to send the message to our students and our parents that we have to talk about it. We have to keep the conversation going. Because if you don't ask the question, we can't do anything. So I think just to be open and allow their child to explore something that may seem very different, a little bit scary, unknown, but I think ultimately in the end it's incredibly rewarding
Exactly.
when they're helping their peers.
And the reality is, statistically, their child's going to be confronted with someone else who is suicidal.
Exactly.
So the part that we tried to share with parents is, this is empowering. This is educative, where your child is going to know what to be able to say and do in those situations, whereas just saying, well, tell an adult is not super helpful in that moment when you're confronted with the magnitude of that situation.
And that's part of the structure of Hope Squad, is the learning piece. And many kids begin to learn more about themselves too. And it's not that they're going to go into mental health necessarily when they go to college, or may not even go to college, which is fine. But I saw engineering students, I saw all kinds, but they had that inner need to help others, and I think that's part of what Hope Squad would bring out and educate. As we know, suicide doesn't discriminate. It can happen to anyone, and so this is good, and they will know, like you said, if they come across someone that is suicidal in the school or has suicide ideation, then they'll know exactly what to do, because that's something that will be drummed into them very quickly, and they will learn very quickly in the program. So sounds like you guys have it. You guys got it down. So if if other school districts want to come on board, we will be putting up your website address. If you wish to have your telephone number put on there, we will also. But it'll be a good time for them to talk with you all and help you guide. There's only one other Hope Squad in Pennsylvania, and that's out in the western part of Pennsylvania. So we're hoping that we can get the county on board on this too. And if you have an Avidum Squad, we do, these two programs work really well together, and we do support both of them. So that's wonderful too. And Suburban is that way. So we look forward to that. And there is also an elementary program. So when you're ready.
Okay. We'll see how year one goes, and then we're absolutely,
Now the elementary
expanding.
program starts in 4th grade, so it's not as young as kindergarten, but so we'll be ready for you. Well, thank you, Miranda and Sarah, for coming today and being a part of this wonderful conversation for this month. And if you or someone you know needs help, please call us at 717-451-6411 or the National Hotline number, which is 1-800-273-8255. You're important, so please reach out to someone you can talk to. For more suicide prevention services, call Suicide Prevention of York at 717-451-6411. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.